I'm going to walk you through a couple videos that generated over $22,000 in cash from a single video. And it wasn't the video itself that made the money, it was what I did after the video that generated the sales. And for context, a couple of videos I'm going to show you are from a few years ago. And I have since taken this same skill that I'm going to walk you through and have generated over $100,000 from a single video. And in fact, this skill is helping me produce on average of $102,750 a month in sales. So the sky's the limit. And in fact, this is the most profitable skill, in my opinion, that you can learn in this AI revolution, whether you're trying to make more money from your content or your videos or speaking or whatever you're doing in marketing. Learning what I'm about to walk you through, at least in my experience, has been the 5% that's produced 95% of the results. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through a couple of these videos. Then I'm going to explain what I did differently to be able to actually make the money. Now, this first video is from my online fitness business. And for context, I was helping people lose stubborn belly fat. And the title of this video was The 5 Worst Fat Loss Mistakes Most People Make When Trying to Lose the Belly. The video itself got 1,200 views and 105 comments. It landed me 15 inbound DMs after the video and generated me exactly $22,000 in cash that month. And it all stemmed from what happened during this video, what I said, and after this video, which I'm going to unpack in just a minute. The second video here, again, was from my online fitness business, and the title was Get a Body Like Beauty Without Feeling Hangry Like the Beast. And I had a play here where I was donating $1 for every comment to help fight against child abuse. And so that certainly helped me get a lot of comments, but what it didn't do was help me create the sales. What I said during this video and what I did after attributed to that. And you can see I'm wearing a yellow dress. Wearing the yellow dress had nothing to do with me making the money. Well, maybe because I was being myself. I was being quirky. I was being humorous. And I think being you truly does help connect with people and all that. But, it generated me 318 comments. I had 3,300 views on this video. I think we ended up having like 14 or 15, very similar amount of DMs from that original video I showed you. And this video helped us have a $33,000 cash collected month, the month that I did this. And then this is a more recent video. This is a live workshop that I was hosting, a Zoom workshop. And by the way, all of these videos that I'm showing you are live. And there is a reason why they're all live, especially now in this AI revolution that we're in, where going live, whether it's a live masterclass on Facebook or Instagram or a Zoom workshop, is actually, you'll make more money going live in my experience nowadays than ever before, because it's like it can't be faked. And people are really craving that connection, that authenticity. And when you can show up live, it's really hard to like fake this stuff. But this workshop was on the 8 core beliefs that you need to infuse in your content and in your marketing to help pre-sell, to create pre-sold buyers. And this video generated me over $100,000 in cash. And videos like this, when I execute this properly, just like I'm gonna walk you through, will do that for me. And so I didn't start off. That's why I didn't make the claim like $100,000. I'm not claiming anything, to be fair, but that's why I said 22,000. Is that when I started off, I made less money, but it was still better than I've ever done before. And so let me walk through what not to do first, because in fact, I would argue that what not to do makes what to do a lot more simple. Kind of like somebody that's like trying to lose weight and eat healthy. It's like if they just stop eating like an asshole and it makes eating healthier easier. Does that make sense? And so what not to do and what I was doing prior that actually caused me to not make sales, and this is more prominent today, is I was just teaching. So what not to do is just teach at your audience. It's like the last thing the world needs is more information. There is an abundance of information out there right now. Information itself is a commodity, right? People can pull out their phones, they can go into Google, they can go into ChatGPT, and they could find information, how-tos within seconds now. So we need to move from just providing information and teaching at our audience to influencing. We need to go from informing to influencing. When you can tap in and make people feel something and make people like take action, when you can truly influence them to move forward, that is a skill that at least right now AI cannot replicate, and most people don't know how to do super well. When you can do this, like, and I'm gonna walk through how specifically in these videos I did it, so you can get a real world example. But going from informing, which you don't need to do anymore, we don't need to just inform people. We need to influence people, shift their beliefs, shift their perspectives. And then when we can move from just distributing and posting content to creating demand. Like, for example, like I had a client doing pretty well, doing like multiple six figures in their business. They were running top of funnel like Facebook ads, and they had a CRM, like Go High Level they were using, and they had a pipeline that had thousands of leads they generated, but people were not buying. They were making sales, but they were stuck. Like, they were declining month over month. Really, they were worse than stuck because they were losing money, and they were running more and more ads. They were running Instagram stuff, and getting people. So they were getting attention, is what I'm trying to say, but they weren't monetizing it because they weren't creating demand. Does that make sense? And so it's like, if you're stuck in this loop too, where maybe you're trying to get attention, whether you're trying to go viral, you're running ads, but you're not creating demand, it doesn't matter how much you distribute. I mean, people, you can literally have an AI agent just pump out content for you all day. It doesn't mean you're going to make money. What means you're going to make money is if you know how to create demand. And so the first step of this, step number one, if you will, is we need to learn how to say the right words in the right way, dare I say, in the right order, because there's a sequence to this, to the right people. And when we can do that, we are going to be able to make any video, anything that we do marketing wise, make more money. So that's step number one. In fact, there's a famous marketer. His name is Jay Abraham. He says if you can articulate the problem better than your ideal client can, they're automatically going to assume that you have the solution. And so while I have videos on this channel that go deep into messaging, I have an entire process called the Magic Messaging Makeover process that I help brands unpack their messaging and plug it into their marketing ecosystems. I could do that for you if you would like. And you can go through the free videos on my channel on this. Understand this about messaging right now. This is a big topic, but the two probably most essential pieces of messaging is you need to be able to tap into their struggle story. Like, what is going on in the narrative of your ideal client? What are the symptoms, the pains, the complaints, the very specific limiting beliefs they have, the actions they're taking to solve their problems right now? All of that. If you can really get specific and tap into that and not be so generic, you're going to stand out amongst the sea of tons of people. It's like, I heard an analogy once that really stuck with me. It's like, imagine going into Times Square during New Year's Eve. It's like crazy busy and everybody's screaming and shouting, and you just start to go and scream and shout. That's basically the internet right now. But if you had a dog whistle and you just blew it, the only creatures that would hear you are dogs. No people would turn around, just the dogs. And so when your messaging is so dialed in that it's like you're blowing a dog whistle, the only people that will hear you are your ideal clients. And that's what we want. That's how we actually gain the right attention. And then the second part of messaging to get down, and this is what made these videos convert, is being able to shift the right beliefs. And in fact, if you look into the link in the description of this, in the description section, you'll see something called the 8 core beliefs workshop and playbook, where I go deep into all of this. But it's vitally important that you actually know how to shift the right beliefs, because that's how you influence people. That's how you shift them into new thinking, into new ways of acting. You're planting seeds of new belief. And so with this first video, so that's the first thing, is messaging. What I did was I shifted people's belief from eating healthy to eating right. I taught them, like, hey, you don't just need a diet and eat healthy, you need to learn how to eat right. Then I taught them what that means. Okay, I taught them what that new belief was, and I told stories about myself coming up with that epiphany, with clients that have like that had that epiphany. And so instead of teaching at them, like, here's how to lose 10 pounds, guys. No, I didn't do that. I was like, here's how to actually eat right so that you lose your fat for good, and here's evidence to back it up. And that got people being like, huh. And that's what attributed to people wanting to DM me. And then the second thing that we need to do, right? So now we go from informing to influencing, heavily done with our messaging. Now we go from distributing content to creating demand. And so there's a process that I call a content triangle. So if you think about content and creating demand, and by creating demand, I mean you get people to want to buy your stuff, right? And so if you think about the Bermuda Triangle, like there is Florida, that's where I'm at, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. And legends say that a mysterious force pulls in planes and boats and all kinds of things that go through it. Well, your content, your marketing is the same way right now. And so you need to create demand. And so for each one of these videos, I had promoted it. I pre-sold people into it before they even showed up to the live training. And Google has said the same thing. They say 7, 11, 4. That's 7 hours of content consumption people need to consume from you, 11 different touch points on 4 different mediums. And so I have 3. Technically, you're going to see there's more, but I have 3 core that I focus on. There's a top of funnel. So you need to be able to have like Facebook and Instagram stuff. It could be one or the other. Like I'll typically promote on Facebook and then we'll repurpose to Instagram. You want to have a middle of funnel. So this will be like a email list, a relationship builder. And then you want to have a nurture channel. And I use YouTube for this, and then we repurpose this and put it on our podcast. And so you can see technically I'm following Google and Instagram. I'm doing 7, 11, 5 because I have 5 different mediums. But that's essentially the triangle you're creating, if you will. And this can even be done. I used to do this back. I had a Facebook group, a Facebook page, an email list, and it worked really well. But for the last few years, I've used the YouTube channel / podcast. And it allows people to consume in different ways. And so people kind of get into your ecosystem, they get into your world. And when you have the right messaging, right, you're saying the right words in the right way, in the right order to the right people, and it's plugged into this content ecosystem, to this marketing ecosystem, people get to live in your world and they're consuming your content, right? They're getting pre-sold. And then the step number 3, and this kind of brings us back to these videos, is you want to have some type of great conversion mechanism, which I have always used live masterclasses, live workshops, to where people could show up, they're pre-sold if you're shifting the right beliefs. And now on these videos, as long as you have a great hook and you are captivating people, you want to tell stories, your story, client stories, things like that. And you're focusing on influencing, you're focusing on shifting beliefs. Again, in this example, it was eating healthy versus eating right. And I would tell stories about myself figuring out this belief. And then I would tell stories about clients. And you're essentially providing evidence. And again, I go so much deeper into how to do this in the 8 Core Beliefs workshop. So if you want to go deeper, feel free to click the link in the description. But that's what you're focusing on. So rather than informing people, like that's like the old school way back when information was harder to come by, people would put it behind paywalls. Nowadays, we can get it for free. So you need to, what we can't get for free is we can't get that unique perspective from you, right? You show up with that unique perspective. Like in this video, for example, I wasn't just being like, yeah, you just need to eat like, better, I was like, no, I was like, you need to eat right. And then I explained my unique perspective on it's about the right amount of calories, the right proportions, the right foods, and I gave my own unique perspective on it. I had my own unique mechanism called which is a whole nother video in itself, called the Flex Fuel Nutrition Framework. And because it was my unique perspective and because I was literally shifting people's beliefs from what they thought they needed to do to what they actually needed to do, people bought. Or like even in this video down here, it was the workshop on shifting beliefs. It's kind of meta, but I went from like teaching people, instead of just teaching people like this, I was like, no, here's the old way, basically, right? Like, here's what people are doing. They're just pumping out content. They're overly focused on getting attention, but they're struggling to make sales. What you need to do is fix the calories to the marketing plan. You need to get the messaging dialed in. You need to learn what beliefs you need to shift so you go from informing to influencing people. And I got people to believe the truth that they need to influence and need to actually dial this stuff in. And now all of a sudden, their marketing works. And just from this initial workshop, man, like this is just a couple weeks ago, And I've had people DMing me on like WhatsApp and like telling me their case studies and everything that they've done since implementing this stuff. And it's a massive game changer. And then I take that and I back it up as more evidence to make my case even stronger. So that's what we're doing, right? We're going from informing to influencing, and we're going from just posting content to creating demand. And when you can do these two things really well, that is what starts to make you the money. And this has worked for me for years, but it's more important now to get down because again, people have AI agents pumping out content like crazy right now. Information's a commodity. And so the more you can step into learning how to have the right messaging, how to influence people, how to create demand, the more you're going to be able to thrive in this AI revolution that we're in. So, if you have any questions for me, leave them down below. Make sure to hit subscribe if you found this video helpful. And as always, remember, your message matters now more than ever has before. Don't be afraid to speak it.